legends with the latest news, insights, and behind-the-scenes action from the world of stock car racing. Whether you're a die-hard fan or a casual observer, we're bringing you the checkered flag and coverage. So buckle up, grab your favorite drink, and get ready to make the next left turn with us, where every lap is an adventure.
All right. We got ourselves a little next left turn tonight. Pretty interesting race going on that happened here. Some twists, some turns, friends become enemies on the track.
Which was interesting.
Yeah, playoff teams maybe not making the Final Four. As you can see by my caption, NASCAR fix, perhaps. We talked about this last week. So
you never know.
Yeah, so let's just get right into it. But first, how are we doing today, Mr. Edwards?
Oh man, it's been a day with technological difficulties. I'm hoping I make it through the show. So
okay.
We'll see what happens. Computer's been acting a little buggy today.
Yeah. That's all right. I'm feeling pretty bad myself. All my teams have been losing over the weekend except for one, and Chase Elliott didn't make it any better. Obviously, you know, it is what it is.
Absolutely. But that's part of racing. So let's get to it.
Yes, sir. So obviously, a lot of these guys needed the win, especially Kyle Larson. He was the defending champ from last year here, and a little rocky start from him. Definitely had some pit issues later on, but what did you think of the first stage?
First stage was fairly conservative. You know, I felt like right off the bat, I thought they were going to give each other some space, and they were going to let the race kind of run itself, not be very aggressive. Then we saw pushing 3 wide and 4 wide in certain spots on the track, and they were doing so very aggressively, but at the same time not aggressively. You know what I mean? I know you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
They were being very assertive in the way they were driving, but they were being very cautious in the way they were being assertive. That's the best way to put it. It was clean, it was fun, it was good racing. It was aggressive, but it wasn't reckless and careless. We got all the way to a first round of green flag pit stops before we had any actual cautions. So, you know, that's always nice in my opinion.
Well, we did, like I said, we did have what friends become enemies. So Daniel Hemrick hits into Austin Dillon coming into was it turn 2? And all I saw was like this white smoke, and I'm like, well, who is it? And then I saw Austin Dillon. I'm like, who would hit Austin Dillon? Of course, they said Daniel Hemrick. Just a little like a little nudge right into, I believe it was his left back tire, hit right into the wall. You saw a little bit of fire.
Oh yeah.
And first caution of the day. So that was interesting. I was like, oh well, it is what it is. It kind of helps out some of the drivers if they want to pit. And surprisingly, Denny Hamlin did not pit during that. If I'm correct on it, I believe it was the first day, because I think he was trying to get the points, and it didn't work out in his favor because
he ends up losing like 6 spots right off the bat, I believe.
Yep.
On the restart, and he doesn't even end up finishing in the top 10 in the stage 1. This was a weird move because we saw a variety of options here. I thought the leaders were going to come down. That they didn't. It was that second lap where we saw a group of cars come down, and they were taking 2 tires and 4 tires, and it was a variety of things happening during this pit lane visit.
Yeah, I think the biggest ones that happened, I believe, it was Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott. They went up at least 10 to 12 spots getting 2 tires. So I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So we got something here. And then Chase Elliott obviously finished 12th. But yeah, for a guy that has had a bad postseason and Denny Hamlin, I don't really understand why you wouldn't pit in that situation, especially like we said, he was in, I believe, 6th at that point, 5th or 6th on the restart. So it didn't really make any sense at all, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean he's had no yeah, man. I'm tongue tied this evening. My apologies. He has had no good luck at all the last 6-7 weeks. Maybe he was trying to make his own luck out there. I'm not sure. I would have taken advantage and been a little more conservative earlier in the race and gotten more aggressive as the race had gone on. But Hamlin's one of the best that's ever done it, and he's going to do it his own way, and they're going to do what they think is right. And I don't knock them. They had a plan. They went and executed that plan. It didn't work out for them. It's on to the next race.
Yep. And even though he was in the top 10, his driver won the stage in Tyler Reddick, the 45 car, who absolutely needed it, especially after last week. So it was Tyler Reddick went first. Christopher Bell, which we'll talk about a little bit later, was second. Martin Truex, who has nothing to lose. I think I'm a little ahead. I know seconds. I believe in the end of first and the second, he was leading a little bit. So didn't like that at all because I'm like, playoff drivers need to get in. But William Byron finished 4th. Brad Keselowski finished 5th. Ty Gibbs, who is now a current owner, I believe, in I don't know if it's the Xfinity or a different branch, but he just became a recent owner over the week, I guess, last week. Chris Buescher finished 7th. Logano creeping in 8th spot. Austin Cindric in 9th, and Kyle Larson in 10th.
So, if you didn't know, because we have not talked about it yet, Ryan Blaney had to start in the back of the field for this race. He had an accident during practice yesterday, so the car they started was from the back with no warm-up, no setup on it. He was moving through the field very quickly and through the first stage. But even before the caution where he only took the 2 tires and jumped the 8 spots, I think he was up 14 spots in the first stage alone. And the goal for them really was just to get like in the top 10 by the end of stage 2 and try to be in position by the end of the race for some major stage points. Obviously, it didn't work out for him being involved in a little accident there. Or we're going to get there, I guess. But things wouldn't go his way as we would later see throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And also, too, the Denny Hamlin, even though he was 6th, then he finished 11th, he actually had a pretty bad pit stop, too, in stage 1. It took about 14 seconds. Definitely a little mind confusing because I do believe they've had a pretty good pit stops or, pit times this whole season. So the fact that they did that in an important race for Denny Hamlin, that was just a little odd to me that happened. But it is what it is. And then the only good thing was that I believe in the second stage to start off, he leads the field to green after that caution, as they always do after the stages. So Denny Hamlin was leading it for a little bit. And then something happens. And this is where I pretty much almost turned off my TV because I'm like, seriously, this is going to happen today after all my teams this weekend. Chase Elliott, Tyler Reddick, and Brad Keselowski, 2 out of the 3 playoff drivers that are still in the round of 8, all collide. I believe it was, what lap was it? I know it was in stage 2. It was kind of like the beginning of stage 2. And so I didn't notice this until I watched the extended highlights later on in the night. But it looked like Chase Elliott hitting a Martin Truex in stage 1. And I'm like, all right, like whatever. Everything's getting a little chippy. Then in the stage 2, we have Martin Truex pretty much on the inside, Chase Elliott in the middle, and Tyler Reddick all the way on the top and the outside of the track. I believe it was turn 3. So Martin Truex kind of, coming out of 3, right? Yeah. So Truex hits into Chase Elliott, just a little bump. And this is why I think it was bad about these next-gen cars. You could literally just tiny little taps, and the car is automatically either hits into the wall, hits into the driver, spins out, you name it, it does it. So Truex hits the Chase Elliott, which then hits into Tyler Reddick. They all go flying because Lousy is in there as part of it. Tyler Reddick does a few flips. I think it was like 2 or 3 flips, slides a little bit, but still lands it. He doesn't pull a Josh Berry and just stays there. Lands it and still has enough time to get back into the pit. But he's pretty much done for the day. I don't exactly know what it was.
He broke something in the suspension in the front of the car that's not a part that can be replaced.
Was it? Okay, I thought it was a shock.
That's what it was, because he could drive it back. He drove it back to the pit lane and then drove it back to the garage.
Yep.
And parked it because the part that broke was one that you could not replace.
I thought it was a shock for some reason. I don't know why I was thinking that.
It was something in that area.
Yeah. Chase Elliott gets fixed up a little bit, but not too great. And then, which is also a little bit shocking, Ryan Blaney, which we talked about a little bit earlier, how he's moving up. He had to start all the way from the back. Ends up getting into a wreck himself with himself. There was nobody around him, and it ended up being a broken toe link, I believe, on the passenger side of the car. So he had to get that fixed on pit road, which put him in the 32nd because he was in front of Chase Elliott by one position. So I thought that was very interesting that, of course, what's going wrong can go wrong for Ryan Blaney today.
Everything. Everything. Because even after they repaired his right rear, they had to go replace the left rear too. He came in, they replaced the right, he went back out, he came back in, they had to replace the left too. Horrible.
Unbelievable.
He had a horrible day.
And speaking of that, Chase Elliott was trying his best, and then it just wouldn't work. He had to go all the way back to the shop, drove on his own power, lost, I think, 20 laps in the process. I could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. So he came back, obviously finishing third. He was 33rd. He was the last car on lead lap because everyone else was more behind, or they were just out of it, like the Corey LaJoys. And I believe Eric Jones had a problem as well in stage 2 because I didn't see him after that. I don't think it was anything serious, but he was out for pretty much the remainder. So let's see if anything happens. Also in stage 2, since we're talking about the Hendrick boys, Kyle Larson didn't have a really good pit in stage 2. Pretty much took him, I believe it was 11 to 14 seconds going on there into the pit stage. So that was pretty bad for Kyle Larson. It dropped him down to, I believe it was almost 11th at that time. 11th or 15th. Like he was in that range.
Didn't they miss? Sorry, I'm having camera difficulties at the moment.
Oh, you're good.
Weren't they worried about the left rear or no right rear tire or wheel not being tightened on, or they couldn't figure out his left, and then they had to come back to? Wasn't that the whole thing on Larson right then and there? They didn't know if they had the wheels tightened up all the way.
Yeah, I think it was his right bottom tire. I think they knew because I think they were doing the pit, and then as they were changing the tires, one on the left side, I think they had to go back, which put him back into 11 or 15. Yeah,
it was definitely.
But you know what's funny though? This is what happens to Kyle Larson throughout the playoffs. So he was second. No, he was first in the playoffs coming into it. He had a bad race, which we talked about. Comes back, makes it into it. So I think this is just going to be a theme for him. So he had a bad pit. He finished, I believe, 11th, and he still is in the top 4 for the playoffs. So maybe this is just one bad race, even though he is the defending champ from last year here in Vegas. So I really thought the 5 car was going to win today, but he did not. But there was one driver who won another stage, and he looked like he was a man possessed. That was Christopher Bell. He won the second stage, which is big points for JGR just in general. And I really think Fords do better in Vegas than Toyotas. So the fact that Christopher Bell finished first for the Toyotas, then it was Martin Truex finishing second, because that was like a little battle in stage 2. Was pretty surprising to me. I actually thought Christopher Bell was going to win it, in all honesty, especially the way he was driving. William Byron third, so he's definitely making his case, even though he had a very mediocre second half of the season after he won those 3 races. So he's definitely making a push for the top 4. Speaking of fourth, Chris Buescher finished 4th. Joey Logano creeping up again, went up 3 more spots. He finished 5th. Alex Bowman, the disqualifier, finished 6th. Justin Haley 7th.
17 pounds. It was 17 pounds light.
Oh, was it? Okay, I never heard anything.
17 pounds.
Jeez. And
I thought it was going to be a lot more than that.
Yeah. Did they say it was because of that turn that they did at the Oval? Or no?
I didn't catch that part about it. I just heard that it was the car at post-race inspection was 17 pounds lighter than it needed to be.
Sheesh. Daniel Suarez finishing 8th. Bubba finishing 9th. And then Ryan Preece finishing 10th. So that was it for stage 2. Obviously, I was still pretty mad because Chase Elliott was in 33rd, but I still watched the rest of the race. Usually in the past, I would have just given up because why am I going to watch it? My driver's not going to do anything.
That's why you got to have more than one driver.
I've just never been that kind of person. I've always
whether it was teams.
See, if I did that, then I would have been for Jack Roush, and at that time, you had Carl Edwards, Jay McMurray, obviously my man Greg Biffle, which you've all seen.
So now you'd be RFK.
But now I'd be RFK, and I wasn't really a big fan of Brad Keselowski at that time. So,
but you can be now. He's settled down, and he's about to get out anyways.
Yeah, I mean, Jack Roush's Fords, they never really adapted, and he's a smart guy from MIT. And he just never adapted to like the future of NASCAR, in my opinion. He kind of stuck with the past, and they weren't really winning a lot of races. So once Biffle left, and he even said he would have left Jack Roush, but he just had a loyalty to him. I was like, you could have went somewhere else and won more. But it is what it is. But I believe it was lap 194 or 195 in stage 3. You got a little spinny spin of Mr. 54 car, Ty Gibbs. I don't think anybody hit into him. I think he just spun out and hit into the wall.
Yeah,
he just kind of did it himself.
He just got loose off of 4 by himself.
Yeah.
And he just went for a little loop-de-loop, spinny, and slide.
Yeah.
Nothing major, but it does bring out a caution, and now the race ends up becoming more interesting. I mean, at this point, the race has been fairly calm. There hasn't been a whole lot of action. It's been good racing.
Yeah, Christopher Bell at 155 laps, I believe.
I mean, he was absolutely dominant. I thought for sure Bell was going to win this race, and he was going to be locked in. This race ended up coming down to pit stops and strategy. We talk about it every week. This race actually, it probably the biggest play out of the season, I would say, of strategy being involved here without luck.
And what was crazy too is that I did not expect Daniel Suarez to get into the top 3.
I know,
right? As was the common theme with these NASCAR playoffs this year is drivers who aren't in the playoffs are making more of an impact than the playoff drivers. So I don't understand, but yeah, the post race Christopher Bell, he was just frustrated, and I love it because now I think we're gonna see a Christopher Bell on a mission to get into that Final 4, which he did last year, but. Ultimately, with 5 laps to go, Joey Logano takes over. As we were talking about before, he was creeping up, passes Daniel Suarez. Christopher Bell's in 3rd. He's trying to get there. He's making a case. He just didn't have enough to beat Joey Logano, and Team Penske gets the dub. Once again, as I said last episode, Joey Logano's won. He won back-to-back, I believe, 3 years ago. here at Las Vegas. So when Alex Bowman got DQ'd and Hendrick didn't want to fight it, you know, Joey Logano comes into the 8th spot. I was like, oh, of course they're gonna put him in the 8th spot when he actually has success on this track. So of course that happens, but it is what it is. Joey Logano moves on to the round of 4 championship. Championship 4, however you want to call it. Christopher Bell finished 2nd. Daniel Suarez 3rd. William Byron 4th. Alex Bowman 5th. Truex finishing 6th. Ross Chastain, the Watermelon Man, 7th. Denny Hamlin finished 8th. John Hunter Nemechek actually had a pretty good race. Finished 9th. Chris Buescher, who was pretty much in the top 10 the entire time. Stage-wise, finished 10th. Kyle Larson finished at 11th. So this is his one race where he can kind of just flop a little bit, but now he has 2 more to get into the championship 4. So we'll see what happens. Let's see. For other playoff drivers, I'm just going to look real quick. Blaney 32nd, Chase Elliott 33rd, Tyler Reddick 35th.
So yeah, everybody was in the bottom.
Pretty much, yeah. So pretty much standings wise for the playoffs. So Logano obviously is at the 1 spot because he won. Christopher Bell is the 2. Kyle Larson is the 3. William Byron is the 4. And then the bottom 4, we have Denny Hamlin in 5th. He's negative 27. Tyler Reddick is 6th with negative 30. Ryan Blaney is negative 47 and 7th. And Chase Elliott is negative 53 and still the only playoff driver who only had 1 win this season going into the playoffs. So I will ask you, Mr. Edwards, who in the bottom needs to get the biggest W before we go to Phoenix?
All right, so the 2 races left, we go Miami, and then we have
Martinsville.
Tyler needs to get it at Miami because I think Denny or Chase or Ryan will be the best bets for Martinsville outside Larson and Bell.
Yeah, I definitely think this Tyler Reddick has to win. Miami Homestead, he's good on these kind of courses.
Yeah.
I know Christopher Bell won last year, so he could be looking for his win to get punched in for the Final 4, especially after his post-race comments.
Yeah, especially after today. I expect Bell to be up front at the end of the race next week, challenging for the W.
Yeah, I mean, the last 5 races at Miami Homestead has all been JGR or Hendrick. So definitely look for any of those guys winning in Miami. This is why Tyler Reddick needs it really bad because he's not good in Martinsville. I definitely agree with Tyler Reddick. I also think Chase Elliott needs to get a win in Martinsville because I didn't think he was going to win this one because he's been so spotty in Vegas. He'll either be 2nd or 33rd or 10th. Like he's too inconsistent. So I definitely did think he was going to win this one, but I think Chase Elliott needs to win in Martinsville to keep it going to championship 4, but it's looking very unlikely it would be negative 53. Like he has to pretty much win. If he doesn't win, he has to win a lot of stages, which he is, I believe, the only playoff driver that doesn't have a stage win this year, which is kind of surprising. I did not expect that myself. I don't think he has one because I haven't seen it. I haven't seen him get. I know he's been 2nd, 3rd, or in the top 5, but I don't think he's ever won one. So a lot of pressure's on the number 9 car, but I mean Rick Hendrick, he's got at least 2 drivers in the top 4 right now. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, our Final 4s that we predicted last week might be over. It all depends what's going on because no one expected Joey Logano to be in the playoffs. But do you have Joey Logano winning this year? Because obviously it's his even number year that everyone keeps talking about.
Well, it's his even number year, and the last 2 times he's won the championship, he won this race. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I
know it's Team Penske. I know it's not your driver, but you.
I mean, I'm good with all the Penske guys. I mean, so I mean, I'm not gonna be mad about it. But yeah, I mean, it's a possibility. I mean, he's there. He's locked in for the final. So,
Yeah.
I think it's him. I think it's Bell. I think it's Larson. Uh, I prefer Blaney over everybody else, but it'll probably be Hamlin or Elliott.
Well, I think Homestead's Denny Hamlin's best route because Martinsville, I don't think he's.
I think he's good at Martinsville.
I think he's good, but I don't think he's ever won there. Let me look that up. I don't think I've ever seen Denny Hamlin win at Martinsville, and that is pretty sad for him, I guess. I don't know. Let me see. No, he has never won at Martinsville, so he needs to win a Homestead. Tyler Reddick needs to win a Homestead. So these last two races are going to be insane, intense. William Byron won it in April. That was, I think, his last of the 3 wins this year. Before that, it was Ryan Blaney who won it in the what do you call it, the fall race, if you want to call it like that. So again, it's either a Ford. Oh, Jesus, a lot of Chevys win it, but Christopher Bell's won it too in 2022. So Christopher Bell has 2 more shots. But honestly, folks, it's gonna be a crazy 2 weeks. So you definitely want to tune in to the next left turn when that happens, because a lot of playoff drivers have won in these races, and they're definitely going to be cutthroat for the Final Four. So with that, Josh, got any final words before we get out of here?
I think I'm going to enjoy these next couple races. I like Homestead Miami. I think it's a cool track. Maybe it's not. It's a cool track. Maybe I just like the way the race is. And then I love Martinsville. So
yeah,
I'm ready to rock and roll. And then I love, who doesn't like Phoenix? It's its own different kind of track. So I'm ready for the last 3 weeks. So I'm ready to rock and roll.
yeah.
I still think a Chevy gets it done. I don't know, man. There's 2 Fords left. There's 3 Toyotas and 3 Chevys. Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think the Chevys get the thing done. Golly, I think Christopher Bell's got a chance. I really do.
Listen,
I think he's man on a mission. I mean, who outside of remove your bias? I mean, who do you think it is?
I wouldn't mind Christopher Bell, in all honesty. I think this kid, we've talked about it before, and I've talked about it before. He loves racing so much that he eats, breathes, sleeps racing. So I think this might be his year because we've seen him in the top 4. We've seen him race really hard this year. He's second right now in points. I think Christopher Bell can get this W. I think he's going to get that monkey off his back the way Steve Young did in the Super Bowl as we're crossing over some sports. So yeah, I think it's going to be Christopher Bell. Even though Joey Logano has the win right here, I know it's his even year. I don't think he's going to get the win. And Kyle Larson, I'm not sure because he's been doing this a lot this year where he's really dominant or he bottoms out or he gets so close that he doesn't get the win, but he'll get the points. So I feel like he's just too spot inconsistent, but I'll go with the Toyota on this one and go with Christopher Bell winning it all.
I mean, it's getting more interesting for me. So, I feel like every week my opinion changes.
Oh, yeah, it's going to do that for the next 3 races.
I don't like that. I like to stay on track. But, I think this is different for me this year, man.
It's definitely been the wackiest NASCAR season just because, again, we've seen non-playoff drivers win races in the playoffs when they need it the most. We've seen experienced Cup drivers, a.k.a. Denny Hamlin, have really slow starts in the postseason, having some bad decisions that we wouldn't see a veteran of his status do in the
Typically make.
playoffs. Yeah. We have past winners who are just coasting in Chase Elliott. So yeah, this has just been a wacky season. I'm cool with it. I really didn't watch it last year because of what happened with Chase Elliott with his legs. So the fact that I watched it this year and that's how crazy it's been says something. Other than that, I think that's all we got for today. Make sure you guys subscribe, hit the little bell in the corner, ding. That way you can see all of our shows. Talking the Gridiron's coming up next, so go check that out right now on the Variety Sports Network channel. Subscribe to it, like all our videos. It helps us out a lot. Appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe to all the other shows. We got the 5-hole Saturday Showdown. I was talking the Gridiron. Another show that's gonna start ending soon, 7th Inning Stretch. Check that one out. There's a lot going on that show. Probably missing some, but that's all right. We got a lot of them. So this has been another episode of Next Left Turn. We'll see y'all when we see you. Peace.